They said they wanted power.
Oh, awesome.
Zaba Zakalush Kalamatskalo.
Welcome to Guru Talks.
Guru? What do they do, like levitate and chill on mountaintops?
Not exactly, but you are in the right place to find out everything you need to know, and it's actually quite simple. I am your host, Florian Boschi, and I will be going extra deep with Guru Bhaneswaranand each and every show. We are covering deep truths about relationships, success in business, world peace, and many other topics. Oh, and of course, enlightenment. Because our Guru, well, he is enlightened. This is the 6th episode of Guru Talks. We're going to go a little bit deeper into the topic of the journey of the soul this week. It's our second part. And today we will speak about the intricacies of spiritual work within this whole system of incarnation, of death, of life, within those cycles. What it means, what difference does a spiritual journey make, and what even is a spiritual journey within these parameters of the journey of the soul. What's the purpose of a spiritual journey, and so on and so on. Guru Bhaneswaranand, are you here?
Yes, I'm here with you, and thank you so much.
Welcome.
Yeah, thank you.
Yes,
Thank you so much.
welcome. You know, maybe let's get into a very explosive topic right away to start with. Let's talk about soulmates and twin flames. What's your take on this?
It's a great topic. I mean, it's very nice to consider somebody your soulmate. But in reality, in the spiritual world, it has got nothing to do. At every crucial moment of your life, you always find yourself alone.
So you're saying that soulmates don't exist.
Yes, I think that is what I say.
So there is not a second part. How would you say this? Well, in the journey towards self-realization, right? It is about finding that aspect of ourselves that is not our gender, right? It's about acquiring, like let's say I'm a male. So it's about acquiring more feminine energy until I'm at a 50-50 balance. That's how I understand it. Now, my larger question is there no such thing as another part of our soul, the missing part, the other side of our soul, the yin to the yang, or the yang to the yin, so to say, that exists in the world of humans? Are we born as half of a soul, or are we born complete? There is no other part out there waiting for us to be rejoined.
You see, every person is born complete. You have to find the completeness in you. Now the question is why we get happy when we get another part of ourselves. Because a male who is born with 60% male energy and 40% female energy. Female is vice versa. She has got 60% of female and 40% of male. When a male meets another female and they get involved in the act of sex or something, it balances and makes 50-50 temporarily. So both feels very happy. Any female we like, same thing with any male which a female likes. Okay. But those relationships may go long way or may not go long way.
Okay, so I'm just trying to understand this, right? So when you say that every person is born complete, yet as long as we are 60% of the one and 40% of the other, we still feel somehow incomplete? Doesn't mean we are? Or is this potential that is there that is not really actualized, that is not really manifested? how would you explain that? Saying on the one hand we are born complete, but then a minute later you give an example where two people feel more complete because they find each other and therefore reach a temporary balance of masculine and feminine energy. How does that play together? How does that go together?
When you go for the enlightenment, or when you go in search of uh, completeness within you, then you have to enter into a journey within. You have to enter into something called inner engineering. The outside things usually does not help you. Having a partner and calling her soulmate and thinking that having sex with this soulmate I'll be able to attain the completeness within me is an illusion, and only an illusion.
Okay, so when you say we are already born complete, but then you speak about reaching completeness, how does that go together?
Yeah, because when you are born, you have got potential to be complete. It is not that every person who is born is 60-40, but you have got potential to reach the completeness and experience 50% male and 50% female within you.
I see. So when you say we are born complete, what you're saying is that we are born with a complete soul where nothing is missing, and now it's up to us to realize that God is within us, that we are whole, that we are uh, basically divine, meaning the process of self-realization. Would you say that that's
Exactly.
correct? Yes. Okay.
Yes.
Okay. So, because there is a huge, or there are many movements in many religions. This idea surfaces to find our soulmate. I mean, there is people I have seen probably dozens, if not hundreds, of people who make it their sole purpose to to hope to find that missing part of their soul. Yes or no?
Exactly. Exactly. Look, when we are 60-40, whatever we are lacking, we try to get that. So another gender, when you come in contact with and finds a temporary completeness, gives you a temporary happiness.
I see. Okay, well that's good to know. What's good to know, I think, about this is that there is really nothing we need to search for on the outside to complete us. That's a wonderful lesson. I think we can never find that completeness in a real way within our partner, right?
Nothing exists outside you. Look, I think I have been giving an example that if you close your eyes, you are seeing me, and you say, yes, I'm seeing
Yes,
you,
I'm seeing
but
you. Yes,
where?
I'm seeing you.
But where are you seeing me?
I'm seeing you inside my head.
Yes, you are seeing me inside yourself.
That's right.
If you close your eyes, I do not exist any longer for you. Spiritual journey or journey of completeness is journey within, and you do not need any soulmate, or don't need anything to complete it. I'm sorry I have not disappointed you.
What do you mean by disappointed me?
I mean, everybody usually is an illusion to get the second half, which will make her or him happy. But in reality, as I have told you, at any crucial moment when you have to make a decision, you always find yourself alone.
Yeah, because you are alone are the one who has to carry the consequences of your decisions.
Yes, in the physical world as well as in the spiritual world, in the spiritual world, I always said nothing exists outside you. But even if you want to see the physical world, anytime when you are sad, anytime when you are happy, you can share that happiness with somebody always, and that is very nice concept. But you will always find yourself alone.
Okay. Which is, I think, a great way to lead over to another part of today's discussion. I wanted to see if we can speak a little bit more about death, and I think death is probably the ultimate place in life, or where a person. I mean, nobody can go with you. You know, you can have people with you; they hold your hand, but ultimately you are the one who dies. Nobody else can die with you or for you or join you or be by your side when that happens. I assume that you are also including death into this equation of being alone, right?
Yes, I have already told you that any crucial moment you always find yourself alone, and death is definitely that moment.
So you know, there's books and books that have been written about people who went, they had a near-death experience, or they were clinically dead after an accident, or something like that, and they have commented or documented their experiences when they came back. And what became very obvious is that it seems like people, as they are born or as they live in different cultures, they have different experiences when they die. You know, some are being taken by angels. That's probably more a Christian setting, you would say. Or then, somebody in India might die and come back, and they were taken by Krishna, or who knows. Some are going into a cave. Some are going into the light. Some are going into the darkness. Nobody knows what's really happening. So my question is, when people die, are they removed of their filters that they have here in this life? Do they remember all their past lives? Are they still influenced by their culture? Why is it that people in different cultures have different experiences? And what is really happening?
Death, number one, is the most beautiful experience of human life. Before death, there are pains, and because of those pains, usually human fears. And death is like changing the clothes. The soul is very powerful. So as long as body is capable of holding the soul, it remains in that particular body. Because of any reason, those reasons may be old age, maybe an accident where body gets destroyed, or maybe for any reason a sickness where body gets weak. If for any reason body is not strong enough to hold the soul, soul moves out of the body, and that is called death. The moment you are moved outside the body, you feel lighter, happier, or whatever you want to call it. And all these experiences which people has made were based on their mind. It was not a death experience. You can call it a near death experience, in which we are passing through all those deeds or karmas which we have done. Usually we remember all that at the time of death, and because of this, those experiences people share. Nobody was dead and has come back and shared these kinds of experiences. And if you have come back, you were not dead. You were experiencing these things before death, when the real death occurs.
So once a person really dies, and obviously nobody can tell the tale about that because nobody who really dies, you say, can come back. they will all have a similar experience. All those cultural conditionings will not be there anymore at a certain point.
You see, it will be there because I think in some of the podcasts we have already discussed this, that whatever you are able to remember at the time of death goes to you to your next life. And yes, therefore, whatever you will be able to remember, that part would be different. Otherwise, death for everybody will be similar.
Okay. Okay, so very interesting question. So now let's say somebody is listening to our podcast today, and you're saying basically that karma is accrued by the thoughts we have during the moments of our death. Now, could somebody who is not doing any spiritual work now go ahead and say, okay, so basically all I need to do is at the moment when I die, I need to just tell myself, don't think about anything, or just think about God, or only think good things. And could a person thereby influence their karma in the next life, or is this more of a subconscious process that, whatever sits there and needs to be processed will come to the surface? Is it a deeper thing, or can I influence what I think about in the moments of my death very easily and thereby maybe alter or even nullify my karma?
Yes, you can do that. There have been cases where they have been able to do this, but usually at the time of death, you are able to remember whatever main things you have done in your life, and that forms the karma.
Okay.
And if you are for any reason, if you are not able to remember that, then you are spiritual. Spiritual does not mean that I keep saying God, 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 God. If by any technology, by any means, by anything, I'm not able to remember anything other than zero at the time of my death, I had been spiritual all along my life. And that is the finest experience, and you that is the finest experience anyone can have.
So, I mean, if I understand this correctly, you just simplified a karmic residue with the occurrence of guilt for what I have done in the moment of death.
Yes, yes.
It's guilt.
And that is what,
Or maybe it's
yeah,
also shame or something, or it's fear of punishment. So it's guilt or fear or shame, basically.
it can be guilt, fear, happiness too. Anything. I was very happy in this life because I was doing this. That also you carry to the next life, and maybe your next life is happy. But whatever you are able to remember at the time of your death, only that part of this life goes to next. Rest everything remains here.
So somebody can't just say, okay, I'm going to, I've been a bad guy or something. I have murdered and killed and raped and whatever. I'm not saying me, but just as an example. Then you come to the end of your life. You hear this podcast before, and now you tell yourself, I am just going to not feel any guilt, any shame, and any fear. Is this even possible, or is the person just lying to themselves or deluding themselves, and they will still feel the same thing, have the same issues, or
If really we want to change, we can definitely change. And that is how our whole approach in this life can become positive.
Yes, but you're saying through spiritual work, by removing our emotions, by preparing, so that then when push comes to shove, there is no more left. There's no more guilt left. There is no more shame left. There is no more fear left for us to feel. That's what you're saying, yes?
Yes, I always say so. I call it spirituality. You can call it anything, but if you are able to get away from your guilt, get away from your shame, get away from your hatred, get away from your fear, for by any technique, I call that you are very, very, very spiritual.
Okay, good. So for a person who's not spiritual, I mean, let's put it this way. A person, let's say there's a person who has a lot of spiritual potential. I think what I'm aiming at is, can somebody achieve that feat at the moment of death without doing work before? Can somebody who has a large spiritual potential, which means they have it in them to get there, but they have never invested anything in this lifetime, at least, into that work, and then they die, but they hear about what you said and they're trying really hard at the moment of death not to feel guilt, not to feel shame, will they be able to make a difference? Or yes?
If you try hard, I think whatever you try, that it should not come. You see, I think you have done some meditation in your life.
Right. Yes, I think I know what you're going to say. Go ahead.
Yes. So during the meditation, whatever you don't want to come, you don't want this to come in your mind, usually the same thing always appears in mind.
That's right. So the moment you try, you're already not in the flow of the meditation. The
Yes.
reason why you try is already motivated by fear, probably.
Yes, yes. I tell you, there was a person, a good devotee of mine, I should not call disciple, and he said, I want to meditate and I will be able to do good meditation if you just help me. Uh, Nothing appears when I do meditation. I said, if monkey tails does not appear, nothing will appear. Go. He said, how can monkey tail appear in my meditation? I said, if monkey tail will not appear, you will get zero. Second day,
Funny.
second day he came back to me in a little anger and he said, if you do not want to give me peace, please don't give me, but don't send monkeys in my meditation.
Okay, so he basically was starting, his mind was starting to create what you told him not to create.
Yes.
Yes.
So if you think that I will be able to restrict your thought patterns by trying to restrict it, it doesn't happen. It needs practice. And what we teach in spirituality is slowly you will be able to do all this. But if you try today. All those who are listening this podcast, they can try half an hour meditation, thinking that this should not appear in my thought, and then they will find that usually what they are trying not to appear in their thought patterns, the same thing comes again, again, and again. Similarly, at the time of death, when you try to avoid something, that thing appears. Oh, I have killed that human being, but it should not come in my mind. It should not come in my mind. I'm going to die, but it has already come in your mind.
Right, and and usually what comes with it, basically this whole buying into the duality of things, is with the killing of that person comes the shame, maybe the fear of
Yes, yes,
consequences in a spiritual sense, that there will be a
yes,
punishing God or whatever, and I'm going to encounter that now, and I have to I have to, now is the time of the reckoning or of the reaping, where I have to endure now the consequences of my deed. And that in itself, the effort of not trying to think about something so that I can maybe escape from that reckoning or that reaping that they anticipate on some level, that in itself is the karma, isn't it? Or would be in such a case.
yes, 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 yes. It is. It
Right.
is.
It's very interesting, really. As since we're speaking about this, I think when people, there is a phenomenon that souls, after they pass away or after they leave the body, they get stuck somehow, right? And I think the common word for this, and people have used this many times and probably also misused it many times, but the word we know for this is a ghost. Yes.
Yes.
So ghosts are real. Let's start with a very simple, or are they not? Or
Yes, they are real. Look, in Sanskrit, The translation of ghost is bhoot.
Boot. Okay.
And yeah, and bhoot is whatever has passed is called bhoot. Okay, so they are definitely real because they have passed.
Funny because ghost also there's the word go inside. Whatever has gone, maybe. Yeah.
Ghost is go inside. Yeah, whatever has
Yes.
gone. Yeah, whatever has gone. Yes.
So these ghosts exist, and there is. So how many ghosts are there in the world?
That is, I mean, you probably have to count. It's
I mean, when you walk the streets and you go somewhere and there is 100 ghosts on the street, you'll be able to perceive them, I assume. Or do you need to do a special meditation to see them, or are they, when they're
you
there, you
see,
see them, or how does it
uh,
work?
now you can experience them. You can experience them because they are in the form of three element we call in Sanskrit. That is, they are air, they are fire, and they are space. So seeing them may not be possible in the human form, but then you form an image in your mind, and in those images they are available to you.
But you usually perceive them in form of an experience, maybe a
Yes, yes,
conversation they have
yes.
with you. So they will maybe send you images or something, or tell you a story that you perceive in a visual way, or you suddenly just have the knowing about something that happened, or you suddenly just have the knowing of their presence. Is it like that?
Yeah, it is. It is like that. It is a very controversial topic because you cannot see, you cannot have the. Uh, I mean, you cannot. Whatever I say, if somebody asks me to prove, I may not be able to, but they exist, and you can definitely experience them.
I mean, I'm asking you for our listeners because thanks to you, I personally have experienced them very much, undeniably. I mean, to a point where I'm 100% of their existence. It's a really interesting thing, yeah, because when you experience them, you just know that this is real. There is not a question somehow about it. I don't know if that helps our listeners or not, but I definitely had this kind of experience. You know,
Yes.
maybe I may share this story, and you tell me if I shouldn't.
No, all those who want, they can maybe call you and you can share the stories. See, any amount of stories you try to share, or whatever you try to do, all those who want to believe you will believe you, and all those who doesn't want to believe you will not believe you.
Okay, that's fair enough, I
Okay,
think.
but you can definitely, yeah, you can definitely share your stories to all those who want to listen to it, and maybe you can do it in private conversation, or you can even share here. I
I
don't
mean,
mind.
maybe I just say as much that there was a point in the work that I've been doing with you where you needed and wanted me to perceive these ghosts. It became like a part of what I needed to experience in that moment in time. And so you purposely sent me somewhere where there is a very large presence of ghosts, so to say. And you sent me there in the middle of the night, and I went, and it was scary, and it was everything. But you did, and you were there. You were present with me. You were maybe 10 minutes away, but you were, I think, energetically guiding me the whole time. And as a result, there was something that opened, or that you opened, or that you helped me open, that allowed me to perceive not only ghosts but their entire story, their entire history, how they got there, what happened to them, etc., etc. It was extremely enlightening for me. I guess enlightening is the wrong word. It was illuminating for me, and yeah, very interesting. And it wasn't the last time that I experienced this, but I think it's interesting to see that you were actually actively getting me to a point so I would experience those things. Okay. Is that correct, or maybe I'm misperceiving this?
No, it's correct. I mean, all gurus, they never send their disciples anywhere unprotected. So their usual spiritual energy is present with the disciple, and the disciple can always experience it, and they can also experience ghosts which are present in that particular area.
Good. So now, okay. So now let's talk about this. Where are areas where more ghosts are, and where are areas where less ghosts are, and why?
Uh, Again, I mean, it may raise some controversies, but all where many people has died together, of course, an unnatural death, the possibility of having more ghosts there are high. And wherever everybody
Okay.
has was in peace and there was no problem, the possibility of ghosts being there is very less.
Okay. Battlefields, places where many people died from a virus, maybe labor camps where many people died, those kind of things.
Yeah, yes, definitely. That's what I'm saying.
And then you also told me, and this is getting a little bit already in our next topic, that there are a lot of ghosts usually at cemeteries.
Yes,
And I assume the reason, or maybe you tell us about the reason why this is. Why are ghosts at cemeteries?
because their bodies are present there, and even after death, there are people who remains attached to their body, and they usually try to remain in and around their bodies.
And then the body kind of like molds away or disintegrates. So they still stay with the bones and with
Yes,
the.
yes, yes. I mean, they are attached. They they are not inside the body to be alive, but they are attached to it. So as long as bones remains and these things remains, they remain attached, and they live in nearby
So, so
surroundings.
when you say they are attached, that means I assume that they are afraid to leave the bones,
Yeah,
afraid of what
also,
will
also,
happen if they leave the bones or something like this.
you can say so. Yeah.
So those emotions that ghosts experience are probably more in the, or most of the time, maybe both is possible. I don't know. You tell me. But it seems like they are more around the negative spectrum of feelings, right? Sadness, fear, remorse, guilt, shame, those kind of things. Yes? Or are there ghosts who are all love also? And they don't want to
Yes,
leave
there
their bones
are.
because they're so in love with themselves or with their body or something.
it it can be both way because emotions, as I have said you, are both sides. If you experience sadness, you also experience happiness. So it can be there are. I mean, people start defining good ghost and bad ghost. So I mean, it is both ways always.
Yeah, but let's say there is a ghost who is like really, really scared to leave his body or something, right? And now you're moving in close proximity to that ghost and you're not protected from it or anything. So people probably call ghosts good and bad ghosts because if there is an energy around you that constantly feels guilt and shame, then there will probably you will probably get some of those, start feeling some of those feelings also maybe when you're around that ghost. Is that possible?
I think most of the societies in this world, they tell us not to go to these places, and there is always a reason what our ancestors has told us. So, and why have they told us not to go to these places is only because we should not catch the negative emotions present in those surroundings, those areas, and therefore I think that answers all your questions.
How do we know if somebody that's close to us passes? So let me step back here for a moment. So just to recapitulate here, somebody becomes a ghost or can stay attached as a ghost when their level of feelings, regrets, just when their level of feelings, of emotions has a certain magnitude while they're dying, right? So if they're not ready to die, if they have regrets, if they're holding on, if they love somebody really badly, right? They're so in love,
Yes.
and then they die, they're ripped out of life, which means that on some level emotionally they don't want to leave, they don't want to go.
Yes.
So that's when they stay as
Yes.
ghosts.
Yes, you are
So
right.
so is there also ghosts who don't stay with their body, but they stay with their lover or their mom or their child?
Yes, it's possible.
And would you call that a possession then?
Yes, possession also you can call, and they can stay in. You see, human body is resistive to all this. Usually, we have been created not to experience these three energy bodies. But when you start experiencing them, then you start experiencing several of them. Otherwise, usually human being is protected, and if you go to sanitary, nothing happens. But sometimes your resistance becomes little low, and then position is also possible.
Okay, so just because let's say somebody's lover dies and that lover now stays at the ghost and doesn't stay with his body but stays with his lover, right? Let's say a guy dies and he's really in love with his wife and now he stays around his wife. That's not the same as possession yet, right? That's a different thing, no?
It is not as long as this soul doesn't enter the body of another person. It is not possession. It stays in nearby areas, and they are not able to communicate most of the times.
Okay, and can a ghost that stays with another person have a positive or a negative effect on that person's life?
Anything, I mean, if any energy remains around me, it will always have the effect on us. Whatever it has, the similar kind of the effect it will have on us. I mean, there had been incidences where painter was helped by a ghost and he was started doing good paintings and all that. Many incidences exist in the world like that.
But when you say that a ghost helps a painter, is that also that the ghost stays in the surroundings somewhere, or does that more go into a kind of like a possession kind of like scenario now?
In both these cases, I mean, in possession also it can help, and it can help by providing its energy, guiding the painter, do like this or whatever.
So a couple of questions. First of all, I think what's really important is how can a person avoid becoming a ghost?
Very nice. If your death is desireless, the chances of you becoming ghost are nil.
That's not a simple answer. It's like saying, sit down and meditate every hour for the next 10 years, every day for a couple of hours or something like that. That's what you're saying.
Like in most of the cases when a person dies and was attached to his son or somebody, or sometimes he wanted to eat something maybe before his death or something, and that desire was not fulfilled. Those things those things usually make you a ghost. If your life was satisfactory, nice, and you have died a natural death, usually you do not become ghost.
Okay. And okay, that's a good answer, I think. So basically, try to have a happy life and fulfill your desires. That's a good advice, no?
Yes.
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 So how long does a ghost usually stay as a ghost? There's probably different I'm not even sure if you can answer that, but could it be like a year or could it be 100 years? And what's the difference between those two scenarios?
Yeah, it could be. I mean, it could be a year, it could be 100 years. Like, suppose, for example, a person has died, and at the time of death, he wanted to eat some food and he did not. So, usually, when their children or somebody provides similar kind of food, they go away. There are the procedures in different religions how to make them happy and how to remove them so that they can go and take their another life.
Okay, this is good. Here, an interesting question comes up because you're basically saying if somebody died and they are missing food, and now the ancestors provide, whoever remains provides that food for them. How can somebody provide food for a ghost that only exists in with three non-manifest energies: air, fire, and space? When food is made, it's earth or water. You know what I mean? How can we feed, or how can somebody feed the ghost?
You can give them on their name in fire.
And then they will be able to take the energy of that food.
Yes, yes, yes.
Okay. Anybody can do that.
Anybody can do that. Yes.
You make a fire, you throw some food in, and you tell them, "This is for you, Grandpa."
Yes. Yes. You can do that.
And it doesn't matter what food they use.
It doesn't. I mean, you must know what my grandpa liked and what he wanted to eat.
Okay, so if Grandpa likes ice cream, you give ice cream.
Yes.
Oh, that's interesting. So, and this would be a way how we can free a ghost.
Yes. Usually, yes.
Because you told me before, and I remember this very exactly. You said freeing a ghost is very difficult.
It is a difficult process, but I mean, all those souls which were stuck up because of a small reason can be freed like this also. But freeing the real ghost is a really, really very big process.
When you say real ghost, what are you referring to? Have you not spoken about real ghosts the last 5 minutes?
I mean, like human being, there are different kind of the human being. Some are so when they die and become ghosts, there are different kind of the ghosts also. Some were stuck up because of very small reason, those you can, but some were stuck up because of several big reasons. There are a lot of desires pending in them, and then you need a very big processes to maybe free them.
Okay. And maybe another thing that is really important that, or seems important, you were edging on that before a little bit, that there is a possibility of a ghost possessing a person. And you were saying that we have a natural protection field that prevents us from doing that. How would we know if somebody gets possessed? How common is it?
It's not very common. It is definitely not very common because, as I have told you, that body has got uh, a natural protection. But all those who probably go into spiritual field, energy field, or do some energy work or something, they becomes very receptive to receive, actually, to receive the good energy, but then they start receiving all the energies, and in those cases it is very highly possible.
That a ghost can possess them. So, is that something that can be reversed? I mean, can we unpossess somebody? And what's the process to do that?
There are several processes. There are several processes people utilizes, and one thing is the I mean the best process is to remove the ghost from the person to whom it has possessed, and then you provide the protection, and protection usually lasts for a year. You provide the protection after a year again, maybe after 2 years again, and then body becomes automatically protective, and then ghosts are no longer be able to possess you.
So can a person do that at home?
Usually not. I mean, I think you need to go to somewhere, take the assistance and help. How will you be able to do it on your own?
So the help of an exorcist, basically.
Yes, yes.
So is this dangerous for the exorcist?
It is. I mean, it is known
What can
fact that
happen?
it is dangerous. You see, anything can happen. It can possess that person, or it can try to kill it, damage the person, destroy the person. Anything is possible.
So a ghost has that much power to be so destructive and kill somebody?
You see, when a possession has taken place, they are utilizing a body, and body can do anything.
Ah, I see. I see what you're saying. So the ghost that possessed the body can act through that person's body and harm you.
Yes.
So tell me, when a person is possessed, is the person's own soul still in there, or did that person's own soul leave somewhere else?
No, no, it remains there. So you see, I don't know whether you have seen. I think you have seen it, but my other listeners may not have seen it. But all those people who are possessed by some soul behave in a dual manner. Sometimes they are real, and sometimes they are unreal. If you have seen them in a day's time itself, he may behave as he was for some time, and for some other times he may behave as ghost wanted to behave. So they are always dual personalities when this happens.
I see. Like Jekyll and Hyde, like as kind of a schizophrenic symptomology, so to
Yes,
say.
yes.
So would you say there are a lot of people in psychiatric clinics that are not really psychologically ill, but they might be possessed? Does that happen, or have you experienced this before? Have you ever been to a psychiatric clinic and looked at those people? Is there maybe a certain percentage of people that aren't really psychologically ill, but they're really possessed?
Look, the problem with our world is, I think there are two very basic problems, that I want to see the whole world as I am. That is the problem with the religion. I think problem is not that whatever the thought I have, I can have any thought, but I want to impose those thoughts on somebody else is a wrong concept. Now, here, this is my thoughts again. I tell you, whatever these clinics I have seen, or whatever I know may be wrong also. Whatever they do not understand, they say that you are sick psychologically. And then what they do not have any meditation for it. They do not have any medications for it. So what they do, they give some medicine so that the patient's brain sleep. And that is also a very big problem. I think maybe it's a time for the world to do further research and try to find some solutions for these people.
Good. So as we are talking, do you have some solutions, especially maybe in connection with possession, for example? it seems like there is a solution if somebody is possessed, right? It will appear for a psychiatrist or a psychologist from a symptomology standpoint, it will probably appear as some schizoid disease. But you are saying it is not, right? So for a certain percentage of the population in psychiatric clinic, we might right here, as we're discussing, already have a solution.
Yes, it is possible.
So how many people are those, do you think?
I don't know. That is, I mean, if I go on statistics, I'm sorry, I may not be able to tell you anything because I really do not know.
Okay, no problem, no problem. So here's another interesting question. You know, some people say that. Let me formulate this differently. You know, on the one, you're saying that everything is on the inside. Yes, you're also saying that we can't see a ghost, but you know we can only perceive it inside of ourselves. You were giving the example of me watching you and I'm not really seeing you on the outside, but really I'm seeing you inside my head. Wouldn't that open a point of argumentation where you could say, or you could ask yourself, does a ghost actually exist, or is it maybe just a field of remembrance inside of ourselves?
Yes, you can do that, but usually a person who is possessed comes to know about it. You see, there are many things in the world which we do not see, but still we believe in them. Like oxygen, we do not see, but we believe it. Like electricity, we do not see, but it exists.
But I mean, in an electron microscope, we can see it, no? We can see molecules, or can we not? Yeah, okay, agreed.
There are few stories, I do not know, I do not authenticate them, that there had been some cameras which have even been able to capture something which was not present. So, but all those things are again the matter of research, and I think maybe it's time you can, you or the world or somebody can formulate, make a big foundation, a trust for doing these kind of research. Also, it is possible.
Okay. But my question that I wanted to ask, are ghosts just an inner experience, or are they also real on the outside? Because, you know, for me, this is very difficult to understand that there is nothing on the outside. But, you know, either something is real or it isn't. Huh?
What is oxygen? It's a real experience, or it is something outside. Similar thing is,
Well, I mean, I think it was called ether before modern
no,
science,
ether.
and then we were able to kind of like understand that there is a bound oxygen molecule, and there are nitrogen molecules in there, and we were able to actually find the constituents of air, and that's when we could prove it, and that's when we could start seeing it for what it is. Before, people were speaking about ether when they talked about
No,
air. They didn't know. They didn't know what it does in the body either. They didn't know about photosynthesis, you know? So,
ether in physics was used for different things. It was used for space. It was used for not air, but yes. Now the ghosts are like air. So you can experience them outside. You can also experience them inside.
but it's air with emotions, basically.
Yes, yes, it is air with emotions.
Okay. So in an electromagnetic field, they should be able to be perceived, yeah, in a device that can measure subtle electromagnetic fields.
Yeah, I think if you do some research, it will definitely be possible to. They will definitely have some impact, I think.
Yeah, okay. Okay, good. Now, I want to use the last third of the show tonight to speak a little bit more about the journey of the soul from a spiritual aspect, right? So, I think the first and very relevant question is that in this journey of the soul, that seems to be a never-ending cycle that had no beginning and will have no end. Unless a person frees themselves of the karmic cycle, which is in classic spirituality not only a very real possibility, but one of the highest goals that exist in spirituality. Please correct me if I'm wrong, if I'm saying anything wrong here.
No, you are telling exactly the truth. Go
Okay.
ahead.
Okay. So I guess the first question is, how does this work? Are we taking the spiritual work we do with us into our next lives, even though we have no remembrance of our past lives?
Yes, if if you see whatever work we do in our past life, part of it when and what we are able to remember at the time of our death goes to your next life. And now with those energies you are born, they are present in you, but they are not activated. The moment something happens and you are able to activate them, you start working very fast in this life.
So what are activators?
Uh, Somebody who can teach you how to do that, some of your teacher, we call it gurus, and those gurus transfer part of their energies, part of part of their energy or part of the source energy which is present in them, and that source energies starts activating whatever you had hidden in you.
Okay. So you need a spiritual guru to activate the potential of the work that we have done in our past lives. Otherwise, it stays dormant.
Yes, anything. I mean, anything you want to learn in this life, even if you have brought it from the past, you need to, you need a teacher for it. And these gurus, I think when I say gurus, I include all of them, our mother, father, surroundings, teacher, and the spiritual guru.
Oh, so a life-changing experience could also be a trigger to activate this. Like, let's say somebody had an accident and lost their whole family, and they needed to change their whole life, and suddenly they were starting to ask questions about God and about purpose of life and things like that.
I think I have read many stories, and you also must have. Yes, in many cases, it has happened like this.
Okay, I'm just trying to get an idea of what kind of activation you're talking about. So, if somebody awakens to the reality that there must be more than the physical, that is already an activation in the right direction, yes?
Yes, yes, it is. And if that happens in a person, he i- starts searching, and that search leads him to some enlightened soul, some gurus who starts guiding them.
Okay, so there might be people walking around in this world who have done massive work. Maybe they were enlightened before. They come back to this earth and then somehow they didn't have the opportunity or they missed maybe the opportunity to activate their potential. And they might have a huge potential but run around their whole life with it not being activated.
In some of people, it is possible. Yes, you are right.
So, which leads me right to my next question. Can parents, is there a way that parents can see and further if such a spiritual potential was present in their child or in one of their children?
Usually, yes.
So, what advice would you give to parents to see or to notice? What are they looking for? To see if their child might be a spiritual prodigy in full potential but not actualized yet, and maybe there is something they can do. Maybe they could see, wow, yes, this child really is carrying that potential. I need to go find a spiritual guru or something like that. What would parents need to have to look for?
Look, these children are usually different than normal children, but yes, I think the most parents find it out, but the illusion is so strong. You know, we want our children to be like us, or we have already perceived something that my child should be this, and then we start guiding them in that directions, and then the uh, the reality or the original concept of the child gets lost. Otherwise, if the spirituality is present, parents are the first persons, first people to notice that.
So you're saying a person who is not spiritual will not be able to notice in their child if it has the potential to be spiritual, and the person who is spiritual will get that information anyway.
This is one thing, and even like if the parents has noticed that, then they will try to avoid, so that their children gets into mainstream of life, how to earn, how to do all this. I mean, they try to, most parents try to put their children not in the spirituality but in the mainstream of the society, so that they can lead a good life.
I see. So you're saying even if you notice the potential in a child to have this ability to maybe become really, really spiritual or achieve spiritual greatness, they would probably not want it for their child because it doesn't fit into society.
Right.
Okay.
Exactly, this is
Okay.
what I'm saying.
But just for argument's sake, I would still like to ask you, what do parents have to look for to notice, yes, my child has spiritual potential? How would they be able to know?
These children are different. So usually, I you see, there are no specific rules, but if a child is spiritual, parents usually notice it. The inclination of child will be into different things, into learning spirituality, into talking something which is not talked in the society, little confusion in the child's mind. All these are the uh, things which leads the child to spirituality.
Okay. Now, on this path, if somebody is on this path and they did a lot of work in their past life, and now they get reborn, and now they basically need to find a spiritual guru of some sorts to help them find back to that course. Is it usually the same guru that they encounter, or will it be another one, or how does this work?
Usually, you will encounter the same guru, but in some cases, it could be different one also. But usually, it is same. It's a karmic relationship, and usually you find your guru in this life also.
So if somebody doesn't have yet a karmic relationship with a guru, but they would want to start this path, is this very difficult, or is this possible? How many people had a spiritual guru in their past life?
Uh, I think I'll not be able to tell you the statistics, as I have told you earlier. But yes, your another question, that whether somebody can start their spiritual experience for the first time, they can, and they can even succeed. So that is the answer of the first part of the question. Second part of the question, statistics will be very difficult for me to answer. So I think you will have to excuse me for that.
Okay, I will excuse you for that.
Yes.
So People, when they have done a lot of work in their past lives, let's say somebody got enlightened, can they come back enlightened?
Enlightened souls are usually born as enlightened, but still, here you have to understand that somebody has to tell them, somebody has to uh, make them understand and make them reach there. And that is again Guru. Even if an enlightened soul was born, then also they had to follow the same process what anybody else has to follow.
So they're not being born enlightened because you just said they are born enlightened.
See, being born enlightened by meaning, like you said earlier, that I said you are born complete,
Yes.
provided you you have to work to become complete, even if you are born with it.
So,
Similarly, even if you are born with enlightenment, you have to work to realize that you are enlightened.
okay. So, what's the difference then between somebody who's born enlightened and born not enlightened? I mean, they both still have to work to reach completion. Maybe one has to work more than the other, but in essence, it's still the same.
Yes.
Okay. Well, then you could say everybody is born enlightened, no? No.
I always say that everybody is, you see, uh, there is a word used, avatar. Everybody I say is avatar because, you know, every human being has got part of God. How much is that, may be a question. Otherwise, we are made of five things, and one of that thing is space, which is God.
You just used the word avatar, yeah?
Yeah.
So, avatar is also an enlightened being? What's
Everybody, I'm using, yeah, avatar is particular, I mean, a particular soul taking the birth again and again to guide the humanity. But in my opinion, every human being born on this earth has got part of source in her or him. So therefore I told that everybody is avatar.
everybody's avatar? But so you could say everybody's avatar or everybody's enlightened or everybody's complete, yet at the same time, this avatarness, completeness, and enlightenment is not actualized, and we cannot utilize or reap its benefits until we have actualized or realized it. I mean, you can run
Yes.
around, yes, you can run around and say, I'm an avatar, but there is still doubts inside of, a person and fear
Yeah,
and
yeah.
all these things. So, okay, but that's just a theoretical construct. In practice, they are not an avatar.
Yes.
Okay. So, can you explain the difference between an avatar and a regular person who reaches enlightenment?
Uh, I mean, that avatar now you are using in different terms. What I use was different, and what you are using is different.
Oh, okay.
Now, those avatar is the part of energy from the source takes birth again and again to guide the humanity. Okay, those people like Christ, Krishna, Ram, and all, they are called avatar.
So, Christ is an avatar.
Yeah, he was. I mean, all those who has come for guidance to guide the humanity, uh, and they have guided successfully, you can call them avatar.
Okay. I mean, so what are you doing right now in the podcast here? You're also guiding humanity in your way, yes?
In in that terms, I have already told you just before some time that every human being is an avatar.
Yeah, but also you have told me that the way I'm speaking about avatar now and before are two different pairs of shoes.
Yes, because I mean, anyone who is born with different things, a different soul taking birth again and again to guide the humanity, I am not that.
Right. And
Okay.
is Jesus is my
I'm
questions because Jesus also went to the Himalaya and to Egypt and had initiations there and had a journey and had a guru probably. My question is was Jesus enlightened or was he an avatar? Big difference it seems like, no?
Jesus was enlightened. Okay. And the purpose of his life, his guru has decided to do this. My purpose of life is not decided. Okay. Other than for little bit of time when he said that whoever comes to you, just take care of them. That is something different. But the purpose of life is not decided. So you can call that I am not avatar. And his purpose of life was decided. You go teach them, and maybe you get crucified.
Okay, but I mean, I know of one avatar, and we went there together to Krishna's birthplace, and you were telling me that Krishna basically already had these amazing powers where he could lift whole mountains before he was even 3 years old. So he was a guy who got born in an enlightened state. Is that correct?
No, he had to go to Guru. Krishna had a Guru. If he was born with an enlightened state, why had he to go to Guru? Christ had a Guru. Ram has a Guru. Any Buddha has a Guru.
So even avatars are coming to the world non-enlightened and need to then find their way to it.
Right, exactly. That's what I'm saying. Krishna has a guru. He has gone to Sandipani ashram to learn spirituality.
Okay.
Like
Okay,
Florian
that
has
makes
come to
sense.
me to learn spirituality, he has gone to Sandipani.
Right. But that still doesn't explain the difference between an avatar and an enlightened person who's not. So let's say Jesus was given the task by his guru to, you know, to go and piss off the Romans so they would kill him, and he knew that that would happen maybe. Does that make him an avatar?
No, you see, this is my way of saying, or somebody's way of saying. You can say in simple and plain words that Jesus was enlightened and he has taken this task very successfully and has done it.
Okay. So is there a difference when somebody is enlightened and passes away in terms of the choices they have then?
Yes, that is what. Oh, okay, then that answers your question. Enlightened souls, they have choice to take birth wherever the need be and wherever they want to take the birth. But after, so these enlightened soul, you can call them avatar if you want. But I, of course, I call everybody avatar. But these enlightened soul, when they come here to guide the humanity for a purpose, for a particular amount of time, but after they are born in the human body, they forget everything like any other human being. And then they need a guru to find themselves again, and then they do the work for which they have come.
So, okay, so I guess the next question would be a person who's not enlightened does not have the choice where they get reborn.
Yes.
So they're just being pulled into a situation that suits their current emotional situation.
Yes.
Whereas an enlightened person is free, so they can oversee the lands and say, okay, this would be a good family, this would be a good family, this might be suitable. Is it a little bit like that? Maybe I'm trying to get a graphic image here. I'm sorry.
It is, yeah, it is somewhat like what you are saying.
Okay.
You are right.
Now, how does a person know in our world? How do they know that they had a guru, and how will they find their guru? Maybe as a last question.
I think to you, I think to you, I have always said, get ready. And when a disciple is ready, guru appears.
How does a disciple get ready for their guru to appear?
If you want to go in a spiritual field, still there are infinite possibilities. You have to make yourself a seed. That's it. If you are able to make yourself a seed, Guru will appear and take you and will remove your existence. He will make you reborn into an enlightened human being.
So, becoming a seed, does that mean to get to an understanding where I know that I don't know anything?
Yes, yes. You becoming a seed means that I'm ready to lose me. When I was there, God was not there. Now God is there, but I am not here. I think it is a very famous saying. You have to perceive yourself and get ready to leave your ego completely. This I is ego. I can do this. I'm doing this. I'm doing this. And when something comes that God does everything, the source does everything. Okay. So when you get ready, that means that my ego, I am ready to make it zero. When you are ready, your ego is still not zero, but you want to make it zero, then you are ready.
Okay.
And then your teacher appears automatically and he starts guiding you.
I would love to continue getting deeper into this, and maybe we will in another show. But we do need to close for today. And it was, as always, a pleasure. Is there anything, have you said everything or that you wanted to say, or is there anything particular that you still have on your mind to share?
I can only say that become a seed. Don't worry about anything in your life. Everything what you need will automatically appear to you. Thank you so much for listening.
Thank you for listening to another episode of Guru Talks. Share this episode with anyone who wants to be enlightened by Guru Bhaneswaranand, and don't forget to click subscribe.